Good morning, everybody. We get a gap up here today. We got this funky kind of pattern. Started last week, that gap reversal, and then the gap up, down, and yesterday's bottoming tail bar. So I guess bar by bar certainly was suggesting higher. And is that another bad tail? I think it's another bad tail on SPY. Let's just take a look at SSO for a second. Yeah, okay. I didn't think it had a tail. It was a kind of a gap and die yesterday. Things just went flatline there for a long time, which opened up this morning to something like this, meaning will it be a launching pad up or a launching pad to the downside? Obviously, it's up. And we say, well, up to where? Well, up to the top of the trading range is where it's gapping. And so that is not going to leave a very desirable entry point. I mean, as far as hitting the button on the long side. Bottom of the range, top of the range, at resistance. Even if it takes out the top of the range, I wouldn't press the button. So on this particular pattern, individual stocks could be something else, right? What do we look for in a situation like this? Maybe a half hour of sellers hitting it on the head, and maybe it pops down and forms bottoming tail bars. It creates support. What does that mean? That means in the time frame you're looking at, 2 minute, 5 minute, it forms a pivot today, meaning those bars go sideways up here and form a pivot where it's got a bar with 3 higher low bars to the left and right. So that has now created some support, basically where there is none, because this is gapping up. It's left a void. And so it's had the void above. There was the unfilled gap. Now it's into this resistance. Right? You can see the cursor right there. It's into this resistance. Maybe it can get right to the top of this area. So if you're nimble, maybe it goes to the top and takes it out. No, that's a choice, You see some little pattern, you look at the intraday data, but you can see this has been trending up. It's not even basing. Let's go back to SPY. This is more active. You just forget the tail. You can see the pivots here. The high pivots are closer together. It's losing some momentum here as we get closer to the open. It's forming some resistance. But you see the low pivot here. Well, the buyers step up. So far, not. Based on this time frame, you can see it's pulling back here a bit. So maybe it's got to come all the way down here and jiggle around, and then we'll see what it does. But overall, the daily pattern is one in which it's constructive as making a low point right here. So now it's at the high point. It had a deep retracement. That's a positive. Getting a bottoming tail bar, right, on the weekly. You got a topping tail bar. Now it's gapping up, right, to the top of the topping tail. In essence, it's really a mess. And directional on this, I'm not so anxious for directional just yet. Thinking that it's going to continue higher. I'll see what it does today, how it handles this resistance, what the dips look like. So, got a turn here, greater than 100% retracement. We did have the topping tail continuation pattern followed by a bottoming tail bar. And yesterday I said all the closes are about the same. Well, now they're not. Well, we'll see where it closes at the end of the week. I shouldn't say that. Uh, it could end up with another topping tail bar. We don't know how the week is going to end. We just know where it is right now and what the daily chart looks like. And, these bars here, and regardless of the tail, it's a little type of a 1, 2, 3, 4 kind of a thing. And now, like if you were going to buy it over the high, it's already up at resistance. There's nothing to do at this point. Well, no, it's not a bear sandwich because this tail is wrong. DB Puck. That's why I showed SSO before. It didn't really go down there. Right? A bear sandwich is a bar where maybe this would have gapped down and then rallied back up to the high. That would have been a more powerful bar. And here you've got this little bitty consolidation right there. And so now where that leads us with SPX is the premium was right underneath that base, which I'm not too keen on. Let me go back. Right, Jacob, 3660. So I think, look, it's going to open up here. It'll probably go up. The thing to do here is to do it at the open. I don't like I would have preferred it being down here, but they aren't that juicy right now. You know me, I'm always looking for a no-brainer. And this would have been a no-brainer. Is this a no-brainer by the end of the day? I would say no. But is it a no-brainer maybe by 12 o'clock you can get out of it? And maybe it just hangs here? That's a decent possibility just because of the time decay. And remember, credit spreads are not directional trades. They're all about locating a place on the chart where you believe prices won't go within a certain amount of time to expiration. Now, you don't have to hold it to the expiration, especially with this gapping up here. That could deteriorate pretty quickly, even if it comes down a bit. So the balancing act is, does it hit here and starts to sell off where maybe you could get a little further below? You just have to be, there on the spot. But what are our lines of defense, meaning support? Well, this 3720 area. You've got this pivot high here. You've got this, it's gapping above. So coming up in here, this should be a decent line of defense. And what we might see today is prices just jiggling around in here. So this should be okay for the morning, 3660. And hopefully by middle of the day, you're done with it. Up above. Sense of the strength, probably be better to stay away from up above. Let me clear it out. Oh, there we go. It wasn't that far away. $38, $35, $30 or $35. So it's up here. And to get to 35 is too close. So it's too close to do it early. But we can assess that in the room later. But this one, doing it at the open, 3660 makes sense. Okay, we look at other markets to see what they're doing. And gap up on the Qs just above the 20, coming into the gap fill. That looks like another bad tail there. Gapping up in the middle of nothingness, huh? It'll make it kind of interesting at the open which way it's going to go. Oh, it's not at resistance. Scroll this over here. It's got room to go higher. So until proven otherwise, once it gets up here, that's where the long risk increases, so it's got room to move up. It should be able to go higher. Of course, keep an eye on Apple and Microsoft and NVIDIA. The Dow had been showing relative strength. That's almost up there. It's got a little bit of room to get higher there before it hits this resistance, these overlapping bars here. Next whole number, 3,100. It's backing off already. It's going to be tricky again. Right up at the top of the trading range, bottom of the range, top of the range. No idea how it's going to close. Backing off here a little bit ahead of the open, breaking through some support. Bitcoin doing absolutely nothing. I'm not so excited about this market showing some strength here, because I don't get excited unless I see nice directional trades. And this is surprising. Maybe the markets, people are just so fixated on the 10-year that they're not even paying attention to this. But look at this 13-week gapping up here, like it's almost to 4%. And so 38.15, and you can see here's the 10-year. That's not too far away. We've been talking about inversion and different things. You could see the 5-year is already above the 10 and the 30. But this is getting closer. The 3-month and the higher to a full inversion. Maybe that's when they'll come to a more definitive opinion about a recession. Sure, some of you saw, Dan had written about it in the weekend, but some of you saw, I saw on Fox News what Dan had mentioned, I guess read somewhere else, that like 70% of families, individuals are already pulling back their expenses. I mean, so is that a good thing? I suppose. I mean, but they've been talking about the consumer is going to save the day for the soft landing. Well, if 70% of them are already pulling back, I don't know about that. Just a thought. Transports, we don't get the gap there, but I suspect that's moving up. And we've definitely got some kind of a bottom here. Our internals, they got cooked lower around here, and then it made this dip down. So they have some room before getting to an extreme here. Problem is this is already up at resistance, which doesn't make for entry points that are, I would say, smart to be entering at. So we need to see some consolidation or a dip. At this point, I would say a bias to buy the dip until proven otherwise would make sense, since the internals haven't reached an extreme yet. And intraday internals, at least they closed well yesterday. I said that on this day they couldn't close well, which is suspicious. But yesterday on the little inside day, it was a good close up there near plus 2,000. So that's a positive. But again, it's at resistance. So what do? We're going to wait. If other markets, or not just say other stocks you're looking at, are moving up above areas like this, and they've got room to their resistance area, that would make sense, because the bias here is that the markets, while at resistance, maybe they can go a little further at the open. And the real question is, can they absorb the supply there? Or another way of saying it, do they go sideways at that resistance? Or do they collapse back down into the gap fill? right? If you're of the mindset that you prefer that they go higher eventually, you don't want to see them collapse into the gap fill. Oh, we'll see how that plays out. And silver doing nothing. Gold looks like it could break down again. That's doing nothing. And the dollar, this is in part why the markets are acting bullishly. The dollar's made a lower high, and they figure, oh, there's a reprieve here, that thing's going to be okay. Maybe they are, but look, the trend is still up, and I'm surprised it's pulling back in the face of the 3-month popping up like that. They're getting out of step a bit with each other, and not so much of a sure thing. Hey, this is going up and the dollar's pulling back. Is this one going to start coming down, or is the dollar going to start going back up again, and then dollar start going back up? Well, market starts coming back down, and it is at resistance. It isn't a clear, no-brainer kind of a call situation here. Looked at that, and oil now pulling back a bit here. Yes, some transportation stocks. Transports, maybe some of them playing a little catch up. We can take a look at that. Let's pull it in. Just going back here for a second. All right, so this is pulled back to this little stronger area of support here. So I'll keep an eye on what that does there, as you might as well. So be nimble. It isn't a no-brainer, but we'll see how it unfolds. All yours, Dan.
Good morning. So the benefit of this monster gap is we're 100% have bullish open positions. We have 7 put spreads, bull put credit spreads, got a bunch of longs, don't have a 0 bearish one. So I've been sending alerts all morning, taking stops, taking partial profits. Obviously, the new trades are going to be a whole lot harder to get on board, but here's a couple that I have. So Adobe gapping over, but that's a big old W bottom. So I don't want to trade these at the open, but I have a nice list here that we'll watch in the green room, timing it in the first 30-60 minutes with the broader markets. Arrow here, I don't see a gap, but that's a 1 2 3 new low plus. Air 1 2 3, just over the highs, looks like a magnet to the 50. AVT was in the weekend letter, did not trigger yesterday, but for a new trade, that looks great. Big old double bottom. Diode weekend ladder didn't trigger yesterday either. But a buy setup, major support, gap reversal, 1 2 3. That looks good. And Unum looks like it's going to gap over it, but let's wait for a pullback on that. FedEx, we'll watch on a pullback. So that's transport, obviously. So that might be part of the catch up. We do have a put spread on IYT, gap reversal, double bottom. I mean, these were all over the place, double bottoms and 1 2 3s, and we played them well. All right, let's check out Ellis. Here is another one. Ellis. Oh, this was earnings. All right, so Ellis over yesterday's high. This, I can't tell where it's gapping, but it's bullish. Had a little downside shakeout in price wood. FPK earnings, that's strange that they had earnings and there's no volume. I guess it's late volume anyway. So we'll have to come back to you. Martin gapping down, so that's a call spread and short candidate. I'd say 10-minute low, 15-minute low. That's a beautiful day trade short. You know, this was a very tight sideways range. That's a pattern that you can trade up or down. The fact that it's gapping down on a very strong market is quite the relative weakness. CFB, I can't tell. Wow, J&J was up this morning. I gave that all up. It was $1 from the stop loss. Why did you hold it on Friday? Well, Kai, because it didn't hit the stop. So that I don't understand your question. It didn't stop out, and I even called it. All right, so 170 then 160. Wow, that's a big reversal. So that's a mess. So Kai, I don't understand your question. It didn't stop out, and I said, bar by bar analysis, I do not like this. Keep the original stop. Well, how can you assume it stopped without proving it? You know, I think the stop, I don't know. Let's talk about it later. I don't want to waste time now since you're in the green room. We'll go back and look at the history. But we also have it as a core long. We've been using covered calls to reduce our cost basis, which is now down to like $64. So we have a $8 open gain on the core long. All right, so that is the answer. So J&J, ugly reversal pre-market. LMT, that's an incredibly flat open on earnings. Wow. Now we'll come back to it. STT gapping up, put spread idea. Hasbro was bearish, now it's flat. So believe it or not, even though it was a bearish gap pre-market here, 10 to 66, which looked like a, you know, obvious short, because it's down so much, I was actually going to keep it on my list for this exact reason, to see if it could quickly fill the gap and be a bearish gap at bullies. And pre-market, that's exactly what it did. TFC is a mess. We'll come back to you. Here's a regional bank, 140. All right, so that's a bearish gap, obviously. So that's a short idea and a call spread. That one, it shows it down 45 cents, but I don't see it gapping. You know, I don't like selling puts that are up this much. I like them closer to pivots and support. SI, that's wow, it's another bearish gap. Silvergate Capital. So that's bearish. Goldman bullish. Now this was on my bullish watch list because this is a nice gap reversal. W bottom, another one of those things, target 50 MA. The problem is, look, it's already at my target. It's already there. So there's nothing to do with it for me. ELF closing breakout, that's another long watch. I would only do a half lot over yesterday's high. Look to add on a pullback. Tandem, this was yours, Alex. I was watching for today over yesterday's high. That's gapping up. We'll watch it on a pullback. Sam gave us this scanning yesterday afternoon. I like the narrowing volatility here at the 20 and the 50. That's a long watch. Lima Whiskey, bullish consolidation. It shows it gapping up, but I don't see it. Yeah, Lima Whiskey. That would be a no-brainer put spread under the WRB. XPO just came out, I think, after the market and gave a little bit more positive pre-announcement. Silk was down. That's a mess. Boeing, we were watching yesterday. We got into a put spread, but this is on my long list also. MATX. Why am I looking at you? It was a 1, 2, 3 from a bottoming pattern, but it's opening, anything opening flat is relative weakness. I just glancing at the Dow 30 and yeah, J&J is down $2. Everything else is lit up green like a Christmas tree. IP, I think that's a bottom. You got a new low plus, double bottom. So that's on our list. YouTube, Alejandro, assessing about Tesla. Well, Alejandro, first thing to keep in mind is I think it's today. I think Tesla has earnings after the bell. It's either today or Thursday, I forget. It's a CLIMO, and it's not a great pattern, but I did say yesterday that if it could take out these highs, which looks like it's doing, then I'm definitely favoring a put spread. Things that are CLIMOs into earnings doesn't mean they're, that's where I wish I could do back testing to say, hey, something, a CLIMO and X% away from the 20 into earnings, what percent of the time does it gap up? That would be a good back test for me, for all of us, because it could gap down another $20. I don't know what the heck's going to happen to this, but if it does gap down $20 on earnings, I'll even be more bullish, because then the rubber band is even cooked even more. So that's my answer. Yeah, I got a bullish bias and it's holding well. So you just got to decide if you want to hold over earnings or just day trade. All right, I'm going to have alarms going off all over the place here today. Work. So yeah, work and IP, the reason I'm looking at these, they got a downgrade by somebody. I'm like, are you kidding me? And they trade very similar, paper companies. But this is a screaming put spread. It's another double bottom, new low plus. And some idiot comes out and downgrades it today and it's gapping up. That's good news for a short-term bottom. Airbnb, let's cover half at 15 cents right now. We put that on yet. That was my only afternoon trade, Airbnb. We did a put spread. So we have a beautiful open game right now. I'll send up alarm. I know Greg did a little video on that. All right, back. WYN, that's another paper stock. Stone. I'm not crazy about that pattern. Work. Work, no brainer, put spread. I would even go out and, oh, there's no weekly, so we have to go out in time. The $30 puts are 25 by 90. I'm actually going to I'm going to play the low offer game and try 85 myself. I'll take that pattern at 85 cents. Let's go. But I'm not interested. Wow, we're still strong. I think the shorts are just getting creamed as a big part of this. But